Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mapping Your Education. My name is Michael, and I'm the manager of Student Recruitment Communications here at U of T Mississauga. I am so happy to see so many of you interested in post-secondary education, a university experience, and specifically the Mississauga campus here at U of T. Tonight's event is going to be a real treat. We're going to go over admission requirements, how to succeed in your application to university, how to prepare to think differently when you get here, what you can expect about our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and see what a typical day as a university student can be like. Thankfully, it won't just be me doing all of this. I'm joined today by quite a cast of characters who will be your guides for this event. So let me bring them up now to introduce themselves. Hi, everyone. Let's begin with Jen. Let's introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I am Jen Duggan. I'm a student recruitment and liaison officer here at UTM. I'm so excited to be here, and I'll be chatting with you very shortly.
Thanks, Jen. Lauren.
Hello, my name is Lauren. I am the manager of admissions here at U of T Mississauga, and I am a proud UTM grad. I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit about our piece and our team's piece when it comes to the application and admissions process.
Thank you very much. Kwame.
Hi there, I'm Kwame Udiko. I'm the Diversity Student Recruitment and Admissions Officer here at UTM. I am also a proud U of T grad. It's a pleasure to meet you all, and I can't wait to talk about EDI.
Thanks, Kwame. And Stella.
Hello, everybody. I'm a second year student here at UTM. I'm pursuing a specialist in linguistics and a major in cognitive science. And I'm just here to talk to you about what campus life and student life is like, and answer any questions you might have about what it's like to be a student at UTM or just at university in general.
Great. Thank you very much to everybody here for joining. And thank you to all of you in the chat right now, all of you in the audience. I see people are joining us from all around. So welcome. I know at the beginning some links weren't working, but I think we've sorted that out now. So thanks for bearing with us on that. We're also going to be joined by a few other of our friends, Sarah, Mark, and Laura, later in the stream, and I'll let them introduce themselves at that time. I also want to do a small shout out to our friend Oriana in the chat, who, along with everyone here, will be managing the chat, answering your questions. So if you have questions, ask them. You have us all in one place. Okay, so we're going to get started with Jen with your presentation. So let me put that up on screen. And for the rest of us, we're going to go behind the scenes, answer questions, and Jen, we'll see you in a few minutes. Have a good show.
Thanks very much, Michael. Hi again, everyone. As I said, I am Jen, Student Recruitment Officer here at UTM. I'm thrilled that you're here today. This is a fantastic session for you. All the information that's coming your way is really here to give you kind of that foundation to help you with your steps moving forward. So without further ado, let's get started. And before we really get into things, let's just take a really quick moment to acknowledge the land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. And today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from all across Turtle Island, and we truly are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So, what is it about university that's a little bit different than college, and it's a little bit different than perhaps the trades, and it's very much different than high school and grade school as well? When you're thinking about what your post secondary options are, the first thing you need to do is kind of figure out what the whole landscape looks like. And in doing so, you actually need to find out what your roles are going to be. Now, this slide really is going to be addressed to parents. Parents, as you probably know, there's going to be a significant role reversal. So, right now, you actually are kind of the driver of everything that's going on in your student's academic career. So, during your student's primary and secondary education, you are the person in the driver's seat. You book the appointments, you pay for field trips, you organize transportation, you make their lunch for them. You are the lead. However, once your student is in the process of transitioning into post secondary education, all of that changes. So, what exactly does that mean and what does it look like? I would say, in looser terms, it really means that you're going to take on a passenger role. So, instead of driving your student success forward, you're now going to be that supporting guidance to really help them drive their success forward. So, similar to a passenger in a car, you're going to be there to ensure that they have the right directions. That might look like making sure that they're meeting their high school prerequisites to get into the post secondary program that they're looking for. You're going to be able to support them find the directions on the map, and that might be exploring different university websites, speaking with their guidance counselors, taking them on trips to different universities and colleges so that they see what's out there. And then lastly, you're going to be there to remind them of vehicle maintenance. And in this context, vehicle maintenance really means reminding them about deadlines for applications, reminding them that they're going to have different deadlines for high school to get those grades that they're looking for. It might mean reinforcing that they've got to check their emails and making sure that they're checking on their application to make sure everything is available to them, and that they're handing everything in at the right time. Now, there's another really big change that happens as well. And this is in a very specific and also legal way as well. So, the moment that your student submits their application to university or college, you're no longer the person that can contact us to say, I would like an update on my student. It doesn't work that way anymore. Um, Essentially, the body that they've applied to, whether it's the Ontario University Application Centre, whether that's the Ontario College Application System, whether it's the college or the university itself, or even OSAP, which is the Ontario Student Assistance Program, these bodies aren't able to release any information about your student to you without you first, or without your student first providing them with a third party release. And that essentially says, yes, my parents can speak on my behalf, or yes, my caregivers can speak on my behalf. But in absence of that release, we can't release that information to you. So, in that sense, don't panic too much. Encourage your student to be communicative, to let you know what's going on, and encourage them to take that lead. It's really important that you become a really great guide for them and that you support their university or college aspirations, regardless of the pathway that they want to go. And it's a really good support that you can provide in helping them explore all of those different options that are available to them. Now, this slide really just demonstrates what the difference is between university, Ontario colleges, and high school. So, as you can see, there are quite a few changes. High school really builds upon the foundations that your student has learned in elementary and middle school. It provides your student with, the foundations that they need to be successful at a post-secondary level. And your high school is very high touch, right? It's a tight community. It's steeped in focused and guided learning, which is awesome. It's a really great opportunity for your students to kind of get prepared to go out into the world and do some amazing things. Now, college is really focused on skills and job training. These are institutions that are going to give students more of the technical job skills. So, for example, maybe your student decides that they want to be a pharmacy technician or a law clerk or a paralegal. Um, Colleges are really great hands-on learning opportunities for students. They are larger than high schools, but they're smaller than universities. And one of the great things about colleges is that they encourage independent learning, but they function very much in a cohort specific model. So that really means that most students that enroll in a specific program at college are going to be with the same cohort of students throughout their classes for the entire duration of the diploma that they're pursuing. Now, university is the largest of the three institutions, obviously, and universities really are a space for higher learning. So, higher learning is where students are going to begin to develop their critical thinking and their problem solving skills. Universities are the largest institutions, and as such, they do require students to be more self directed and independent learners, which means that students are going to have to take the initiative when it comes to their studies, making sure that they're completing, not just their homework, but the requirements in order to get their degree. And an undergraduate degree really is the very first step to any sort of professional program. So perhaps your student wants to pursue study in engineering or medicine or education. And the undergraduate degrees are that jumping off point so that they can pursue that education. University does provide students with upward mobility, which is important to note. It allows your student to change their mind mid career, which is fantastic. You get into a profession, you don't really like it, you can pursue something else. And that flexibility is really unique to the university degrees that we offer. Transferability that's associated with an undergraduate degree isn't quite the same at the college level, which is something that makes us a little bit different. Now, I'm going to take a few minutes just to speak about what makes U of T and the University of Toronto Mississauga unique. And in doing so, I want you to remember that each college and each university is going to be unique in some way. We all have attributes that set us apart from one another. And these are the things that students, as you're starting to explore, and parents, as you're supporting your students to start to explore their opportunities, it's important they pay attention to the things that you want from your degree as well. And this could be anything from, the programs that you want to study, to the environment that you'll be studying in, to flexibility in the courses that you take and the degrees and how you can build your degree. All of these things are going to be unique, like I said. So, what is it about U of T and UTM that is so unique? Well, first and foremost, the University of Toronto is one university with three very distinct campuses. And what this means for students is that you have choice and you have flexibility. We are Canada's largest research university, Canada's largest university, and we are a university that gives you the opportunity and the flexibility to choose where you're studying, to build a degree that works best for you, combining your passions from different areas. And it's really going to offer you the same, regardless of the campus that you go to, the same outstanding, internationally recognized U of T degree. So that's one thing that sets us apart. Now, what about the University of Toronto, Mississauga? The information I'm going to give you about UTM specifically is information that, on the surface, you might not think is incredibly important, but it kind of is, because these are things that are going to contribute to your time in your degree. So you're going to look at things like, what kind of programs do you have? How can I build my degree? What is the size of your university, or the university campus that you're going to? So U of T as a whole, as I said, we are Canada's largest university, and we're home to about 91,000 undergraduate students across the three different campuses. It doesn't mean that one campus is lesser than another. It means that one campus is different than another, but it's actually teaching all the same amazing things that the other two campuses are going to teach, as well as having some pretty unique programs as well. When you start thinking about where you're studying, that's as important as what you're studying. So the environment that you're choosing has to be an environment that you're comfortable in. So if you take a look at this slide, you'll know that we are an incredibly green campus. We sit on 225 acres of protected green space. We have, like I said, just over 16,000 students on our campus as well, at the undergraduate level. That's just one campus out of the three. We have more than 180 different undergraduate programs that you can choose from, and they span more than 18 different academic departments as well. We have, at U of T generally, just under 15,000 faculty. We have more than 7,000 librarians, staff on campus. We have more than 160 different librarians across all three campuses as well, and a lot of alumni that span all the countries around the world. So all of these things are kind of contributing to your understanding of UTM and of the University of Toronto. And like I said, these things that make us unique are things that you're going to want to look for in other universities as well, and other colleges. What unique features do these post-secondary institutions have, and why might I benefit from them? And do I want to have those experiences when I'm building my degree? So next, we're going to take a look at some of the common phrases or common words, or common acronyms, that oftentimes pose a little bit of a challenge for people as they're entering post-secondary. So admissions category. Here at the University of Toronto, and UTM specifically, when you apply into a program, you're not actually applying into a specific program itself. You're actually applying to an admissions category. And these are first entry programs. So an admissions category could be, you are applying into computer, math, and statistics. You might want to pursue computer science, but you're applying into the admissions category first. Now, bachelor's degree. A bachelor's degree, usually they come in really fun acronyms like a BSc or a BA or a BBA. And what those really stand for would be a Bachelor of Arts or a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Commerce, for example, or a Bachelor of Business Administration. Essentially, these are just the title of the degree that you're going to get, and it gives people insight into the type of programming that you actually pursued. Now, an honors degree, or an HBA, HBA or an HBSc is just kind of indicating how many years you spent in a particular program. With some universities, it might indicate a certain grade level that you achieved, but generally, an honors degree would be a 4-year undergraduate degree that you're pursuing. Again, There's an HBA or an HBSC, and that just really depends on whether you're pursuing the sciences or you're pursuing the arts. A Bachelor of Commerce or a Bachelor of Business Administration, as I mentioned before, they have their own acronyms as well. And again, it just gives insight into the type of programs that you were taking. So if you were taking a Bachelor of Commerce, obviously you're probably pursuing something in accounting or in finance or economics, for example. So again, it's just insight into the type of program that you're pursuing. And you will find that different universities have different titles for the programs that they're going in that you might be pursuing. So um, you might find that at some schools, a psychology degree is a Bachelor of Arts degree, and with some schools, it's a Bachelor of Science degree. It doesn't mean that one is better than another or lesser than another. It's just the way that they've kind of put your degree together and given it that little title, and it tells where it's housed in the university. Now, second entry programs here at U of T, we do have second entry programs, and these are programs that require you to have a bit of undergraduate education in something outside of that category first. So, for example, nursing. Nursing here at U of T, you need to pursue at least 2 years of an undergraduate degree before you even get into the nursing program. So, it's second entry, it's not directly from high school. That also counts for medicine. So if you decide that you want to go to med school, you know that you need to meet a certain number of years of of university degree before you can apply to get into med school. And the same thing happens from pharmacy. These are degrees that you can't enter into directly from high school. So again, you just need that little bit of education under your belt at the post-secondary level before you apply. So taking a look at undergraduate programs, again, they're going to be different from university to university, and they're going to be different if you're looking at college versus university. What we have up here is specific to the University of Toronto and UTM more so, and it's just how we actually split our programs apart. So, undergraduate programs for us kind of fall into the arts, the sciences, or business. When you look at the different programs that kind of fall under those categories, they're quite varied, which is great. It means that you have a lot of choice. So, under the arts, you could have programs like communication, culture, information, and technology, theater and drama studies, language studies, cinema studies, for example. The sciences, again, quite broad. So, anything from biology for health sciences to chemistry to computer science to psychology and exceptionality in human learning. And then business, again, kind of crosses the commerce and the management programs. So, are you interested in actually managing a business or managing people, or are you interested in actually doing the work, like being the accountant, or working in a bank, or becoming a financier, for example? So, when you kind of take a look at the different programs that we offer here at UTM, just know that we have 180 programs across these three categories that you get to choose from. Again, some of these are going to be very unique to UTM. Some of them are going to be unique to the University of Toronto, and they could be very, very different in the other universities and colleges that you're looking for. So you want to be sure that you're doing your research. Now, leading into research, what kind of research are you going to do? How are you going to find this information? I host a lot of sessions for students that have applied or been accepted into the university. And one thing that I notice is that nobody really knows what that research entails right now. We know that we should go to a website, we know that we should register for things, but how do we actually gain the information that we're looking for? Um, You've got lots of resources. So, students, one of your resources is going to be your guidance counselors. So, in high school, you have these wonderful people that know exactly what you need to do, who you need to reach out to when you're ready to pursue your post secondary education. For those of you in grade 10 or 11, you already went through the careers program, or you're going through the careers class right now, which gave you some insight into the differences between trades and college diplomas and university degrees. So your careers teachers are a really great resource for you. You have university websites as well. When you come to the university websites, most websites are going to have a section called Future Students or something similar to that effect. Those are the pages that you want to click on. So, Future Students, click on it. Admissions, click on it. It's going to give you a wealth of information about the programs that are offered, the requirements to get into those particular programs. All that information is going to be housed on these websites. We also come out to your high schools. So whether we come virtually or whether we come face to face, all 22 universities in Ontario, all of the colleges in Ontario, we come out and we visit as many high schools as we can possibly visit. So definitely show up when we get there. Oftentimes, your guidance office or the office is going to have a list for you to put your name on to say, yes, I'm coming to this event. Absolutely do it. We also have the Ontario Universities Fair, which is a really big trade show that has all 22 universities on display. You're going to have an opportunity to speak to students, to talk to professors, to speak to recruitment and admission professionals like myself that can give you information about how to get into your programs. It is located at the Convention Center downtown Toronto. And then we also have little offshoots of that. So they're called the regional fairs. So depending on where you are, you may actually find that a regional fair in Ontario is coming to you. And it's a much smaller, much pared down version of the Ontario Universities Fair. So we'll come and give you that information on a much smaller scale. We also offer campus days, university fairs, and then of course the lovely view books that everybody sees. And I'm sure in high school you would have seen these view books floating around if you're at least here in Ontario. So all of these different resources are things that you want to pay attention to, things that you want to go to, or things that you want to collect. My best piece of advice, though, is listen very carefully and read all the information. If you're on a website, click all the links. If you are going through a view book, make sure that you're finding the information that is most important to you. And if you're speaking to someone, whether we're in your school or you're at the Ontario Universities Fair, ask the questions that you want answers to because we have the answers for you. So other resources that you can take a look at include everything from university admissions bulletins, which is what we have here at the university. There is an online version, and oftentimes when we come in person, we will give it to you. It's this beautiful little folded up piece of paper that has almost everything that you want to know. So the admissions, the grades that you need to have, the courses that you need to take as prerequisite courses. It's split into international as well as domestic. Domestic being anybody that's here in Ontario or in Canada. We've got all that information for you. We also have U of T Mississauga program plans, which is it's unique just to UTM, and your program plans offer you a really great snapshot into the program that you want to pursue. We'll be able to tell you what kind of courses you need to take in your first year in order to meet your subject post requirements so that you can pursue a particular field of study for the rest of your time here in university. We'll talk to you about careers and any sort of hands-on learning that you can get in that program as well, and little snippets about the program itself and perhaps really cool courses that you can take. And the program plans are available on our website. You can simply Google UTM program plans and explore all of the programs in alphabetical order. Then we have the university directory, programs directory, which again is going to go step by step alphabetically through the different programs that we offer. So if you're not sure out of all of those different programs that we have, which one you want to pursue, the university programs directory is a really great way to learn more about each program. And then there are links to specific program pages on the website as well. So these are fantastic resources. And again, I encourage you, if it's a clickable link, go ahead and click on it, whether it's the U of T program plans, the UTM program plans, or the directory itself. Now, when you're in university, we are going to encourage you to make the most of your time when you're studying with us. Yes, academics are going to be priority number one, but so much of your growth and your development is really going to stem from the type of engagement that you pursue when you're studying with us here at the university. We do know, because we're a big research university, we have the stats to prove that students who get involved on campus are much more likely to succeed academically, but they're also much more likely to find success after graduation, which is fantastic. So make sure that you get involved. And getting involved doesn't just mean joining a club or a student society or a team, which is fantastic. We encourage you to do that. But it also means, you know, take part in a research year, go on an international exchange, attend on campus events, go to the academic skills center. So if you're looking for writing supports or math supports, for example, you can do that. Get engaged with health and counseling. We have a medical office here on campus as well. So it's making sure that you're taking care of your whole self, not just your academic self, but everything. Meet up with your professors and your teaching assistants, get to know who they are, understand where your resources are on campus, whether they're your program assistant, whether it's going to be your academic advisors in the office of the registrar, whether it's going to be coming and visiting us in the office of student recruitment and admissions. We're some of your resources, so know where we are. You are paying for your education, which means you want to make the most of it. You want to get your money's worth. And one of the best ways to do that is to make the most of your experience. We also want you to know that getting involved is one thing, but knowing what's coming up in the future and getting involved actually starts early. So that means attending an event that we have right now. You're doing it now, which is great. So joining us for program spotlights, for example, or joining us for our Discover Days so that you understand what UTM is all about. Going for a campus tour, whether it's in person or virtual. All of these things are actually part of your research. So it's helping you get answers to those things that you want to know. All of those little things that I talked about at the very beginning. What is the size of the campus? What does it look like? What does the student body look like? What kind of programs do you offer? How hard is it to get in? All of these questions can be answered by joining one of the many, many different sessions that we actually host, both in person as well as virtually. And Discover UTM, it's a really great way for you to understand who we are. It is specific to us. So I do want to say that if you are interested in joining one of our sessions, you will find registration available for it as well. You can always go to you can always go and visit uoft.me/Discover UTM. So again, it's just where you found the registration for this, and you will find all of the Discover sessions that are coming up. I do want to thank you, and I want to ask you to stay connected to us. Um, there are lots of ways, like I said, to stay in touch with us. You can follow us on social media. You can, give us a call, come on campus, stop by our office if you'd like. I will say that if you're going to follow us on social media, we are at UTM Future, and that's going to help you stay up to date on everything. So, parents, you can join us here as well. Students definitely join us here. And finally, I just want to acknowledge that we know that this can be a really complicated process for students and for parents as well. So we do want to encourage you that if you have any questions at any point during your application journey or your applicant journey starting now, feel free. You can reach out to us. You can find us on the website, or you can even pop by if you'd like. We'd be more than happy to welcome you to UTM. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this back to Michael. And thank you all for letting me share this information with you.
Thanks, Jen. That was really great. That was a lot of information, but I loved how you were able to package it and make it digestible and understandable for all of us. So thank you very much for that.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a very short video for about 2 minutes. And on the other side of the video, we're going to have Lauren, who's going to do a presentation on university admissions and the University of Toronto. So Lauren, we'll see you on the other side.
My best advice to incoming students is to be open and to stay open. The students I love are the ones I meet before they've made a decision even, and they'll meet me in sort of a fair, university fair, or on a visit to the campus, and I'll say, what are you interested in? And they'll say, no. They have no idea, and they're so scared to admit that they're not sure what they want to do. And then I'll meet some that will give me an answer. And then I can see that that's literally the thing that they've been saying over and over. And so the advice is, here you had the opportunity I didn't have, that I fought for, which is a place where you can take a different direction. You can come in thinking you want to do one thing, and it's not impossible in that first year to just experiment, open up, see what other things you can do. We encourage that. Were you always interested in philosophy? Take a class in philosophy and see if you like that, right? What about a language? You really wanted to understand a bit more about Indigenous language and culture? Take a class. We're not committing to that, but what you're doing is remaining open to the idea that this could be something that I love. And you can mix it up here. It's so much easier. You don't have to fight. You can say, I want to do this weird thing and that weird thing, and it can come together. From the beginning of a class to the end of a class, if I can have students see in themselves and reflect, I grew so much. That's what I'm interested in. What did you learn about you? What did you learn about your capacity and your ability? For me to send them out of the university with that kind of confidence and the ability to understand they may not have met something, a new app, a new technology, it doesn't matter. They know they can face it and they've dealt with it before and they will deal with it again and they will succeed.
Hello, my name is Lauren Glynn, and I am the manager of admissions here at UTM. Thanks again for joining us. We're so excited to have you here and excited to listen to our comments and our recommendations. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you at the end of the presentations as well. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about university admissions and the University of Toronto. So I'm going to talk a little bit about planning ahead. That's why you're here, to get an idea of what you want to be looking forward to and some of those next steps you need to be thinking ahead for, the application process and what that looks like and what we're looking for, and then how are we going to finance some of these pieces. University is a big undertaking, and post-secondary is, and so there are lots of ways that we help students fund their university experience. So planning ahead is a really, really big piece that needs to start now. And as Jen mentioned, there's a few pieces that come before others. So choosing programs is really, I think, one of the first things you need to be looking at, because it does inform the courses that you need to be looking at. It does inform which institutions you're going to be looking at. And so it's a journey. And I love that Rhonda's presentation or that video just played out, because I have a couple of stories to tell myself that align with that message. So I know that traditionally we do tend to ask, even kids as old as 5, what do you want to be when you grow up? But the truth is, many of the jobs that you see in the world today either aren't going to exist or are going to look dramatically different once you come through post-secondary and graduate and enter the workforce. And then there's going to be, a vast number of different careers that you could be doing that don't yet exist. So I would like for you to start thinking a little bit about some of these questions to ask yourself. What problems do you want to solve? What do you want to learn about? And what subjects are you strong in? I remember being in my first year of university at U of T Mississauga, and about halfway through my first year, I called my dad and I was like, I don't know why I'm here. I didn't really understand, what I was there to do, because the program that I had gone for, um, it wasn't working out for me specifically. Not friends with chemistry and calculus myself. I very much commend those who are strong in those subjects. Um, and so he said to me, Lauren, I'm 60 and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. You study what you love and you study what you're good at. And that's what I did. And that brings me to my next points is, and something that Rhonda mentioned in that video, is you can combine programs and subjects at university, and specifically at the University of Toronto. We, as Jen mentioned, are the largest institution in Canada, and we have the largest selection of programs in our country to choose from. When I graduated, I did an honors Bachelor of Science degree with a double major in anthropology and psychology and a minor in Italian. And those three subject areas don't seemingly have anything to do with each other, but I was very much interested in them. And I found in my last year of university, I was actually taking a psychology of language course and learning about, how biologically we learn language. And then I was taking an anthropology of language course where I learned about culturally how we learn language, and then I got to see how I myself was learning a language, and so they all came together, and I did that. I was able to do that with, following my passions, and having that opportunity at U of T to study those different areas. things changed along the way, so they weren't set in stone, as I mentioned before. So choosing programs, you obviously want to be thinking about that now, but you can make changes along the way as well, and that's kind of the beauty of post-secondary, is that it is that journey of exploration. At U of T Mississauga, we have 12 admission categories that students can apply to. And again, when you apply, we are considering your application for one of these admission categories. There's over 180 program options within each of these 12 admission categories. And you can pursue more than one once you're here, but there is one that we need to look at you for admissions. Another piece to the planning ahead process is choosing the schools that you're looking at. So if you're looking at college, university, a lot of the times, again, we're going to start with that program. So does the college or university offer the program that you're interested in? That's a big key that you want to make sure. But there's other pieces that you want to think about: is location. Is it close or far away from home? Are you looking to stay close to home, or do you want to go to another city or potentially abroad? Size. So U of T Mississauga for me was it was an opportunity to come into the GTA, but on a smaller scale. So are you looking for a big institution or a small or a mid-sized university like UTM? The vibe. So, do you want to be somewhere where it's really busy, or are you looking for a chill environment, or something that's a little bit more secluded, or whatever it is? We highly recommend, if you can, to go visit. As Jen mentioned, it's one of the ways to explore and get that feeling right away. Finances, definitely moving away from home is going to impact your finances, but you can also think about that in terms of scholarship, which we will talk about in a few slides. And then your friends. And I put this here with an upside down smiley face because we love our friends and we would love to stay connected to them and hang out with them for the rest of our lives. But this is a really big decision that you're making. It will inform, a lot of what your career path and what your life will look like in the future. And so, keep those friends at heart, but they shouldn't be the priority that you're considering when you're choosing an institution. I was one of um, 2,000 students in my high school, and I was the only student that came to U of T Mississauga. And I still have close friends back home, and I grew up in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. So I'm about 5 hours away. But I also met amazing friends who are now, my family, and I wouldn't be who I am today had I not made that decision for myself. So definitely, have those conversations with your friends, but trust your gut, and make that choice for yourself. Once you know the program you're interested in and the school that you're looking at, you can use that information to decide what courses you need to be selecting in high school. And prerequisites do matter. We are looking specifically at prerequisites in the senior level. We've had a couple of comments in the chat already about that. We do, if a senior level prerequisites missing in grade 12 or your most senior level, we do go back and look at your grade 11s. So we want to make sure that you're on track, ensuring that you can take those prerequisites. So working backwards. So some grade 12s will require you have a grade 11, will require you have a grade 10, and so on and so forth, but also that you're doing well. So make sure that you're speaking with your counselors to plan out that succession of your course enrollment. We've had a couple of questions actually about AP and IB specifically, and I did want to touch on this. So the University of Toronto and specifically U of T Mississauga invites and is home to many, many students from all over the world and coming from all different educational curricula. If you are taking the IB diploma or an AP program, in your high school, alongside your school studies. We have many Ontario students who do this as well. That's great, but they actually come to us converted into percentages alongside your day school curriculum. So there is no preference given to students for admission purposes based on those academic programs offered within a different high school system. But you may see a little bit of a smoother transition to the university because of the time management demands that those tend to have a little bit more rigorous programming within your high school. And the same thing, you might expect a little bit less of a dip when it comes to that learning curve coming into the university. If you are doing IB as a diploma as your educational system, then that is how that comes to us, if it's external to, say, an Ontario high school system. So I just wanted to mention that, and we can answer questions about that if they do come in. So some examples of prerequisites I've seen in the chat, some folks asking about prerequisites as well. This is an example based on the Ontario High School prerequisite courses and grading scale. We definitely on our UTM Future site have the conversions that you available, so you can take a peek, and we'll share those in a little while. But we are typically looking at a minimum 75% average with a strong 70% in the most senior level English and your prerequisites as well. So we want to make sure that you're doing well in those courses, because that's what's going to have you do well, obviously, and prepare you properly for your studies in your first year. Some programs may require stronger grades. We have some more competitive programs. And so we have some examples of commerce, life science, and psychology there, where English, math, potentially biology, and chemistry would be looking at for admission purposes. Some other considerations for U of T Mississauga specifically, our admission decisions are based primarily on academic records, and so we're looking at your grades. For our theater and drama program, we do have an audition that is required, and so that is also part of the application and admission decision. There are other institutions that may look for supplemental applications. So you'll be asked some questions about maybe your leadership skills or resilience or whatnot. There may be interviews or portfolios required. So make sure that you're checking those things ahead as well, so that you have ample time to prepare them. So the application process begins in the fall. Applications open. We do have a recommended deadline to apply in November typically, and then a more firm deadline in January. We do recommend you apply early. So again, you have ample time to submit any of those extra pieces and all of your documentation, and prepare your application adequately for consideration. Everyone applies through the Ontario University Application Centre website. So you do get 3 choices for a flat fee. You can apply to more choices if you want to. There are some rules around applying to the University of Toronto as well as other institutions. So we can happy to chat about those. But you get 3 choices for a flat fee, and then any additional applications are about $50 each. So by all means, you can apply to multiples. It does just have that financial piece that you need to be thinking about. So this is your timeline. As I mentioned, early November is our recommended date to apply. January through April is when we start assessing applications and making admission decisions. Usually, sorry, that's when we accept documentation. Usually offers start going out in February and through to May, and that's where we are today. And then as of June 1 is our deadline for Ontario high school students to respond. Students outside of the Ontario high school system typically have a May 1 deadline to respond to the offer of admission. So a few things to keep in mind throughout the application process are deadlines, communications, and then that these are conditional offers that you may be receiving. So Deadlines are really important. You might have a deadline to apply for your institution, and all of the Ontario universities do have a common application date. So it's really important that you keep that one in mind. You might have deadlines to submit documentation, or if English proficiency is required, that would be a document that we're asking for and would have a specific document deadline. You'd have a deadline for your audition. And then there's deadlines for residents that you want to make sure that you're on top of in case you do want that residence guarantee. We're going to talk to you through, I'll tell you a little bit about our Join U of T applicant website, but we also largely communicate by email. Many institutions will send you a lot of different emails. And so, to not get bogged down or overwhelmed, we do suggest that students check their email on a regular basis, daily, if it's not something that you're already doing, and to check any of the portals that you use for any applications and websites on a pretty regular basis, at least weekly. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Everybody who's currently in, and so this would be as of your application timeline. So if you are in grade 12 and you are applying to the university and you're still taking courses throughout that entire academic term, then your offer of admission would be conditional in nature. And the conditions typically are that you complete your secondary school studies and that you graduate with your diploma or your certification, sorry, that you maintain your grades from when you were admitted, that you meet any English proficiency requirements, and that you accept your offer to the university. And so there are some pieces that we always make sure that you do follow up with. A lot of students who may receive offers in February, March, April think that that's, their time to take their foot off the gas and relax a bit. And unfortunately, it's not the case, because you do have to maintain those grades throughout to the finish line in June or whenever, your educational system would be finishing. At University of Toronto, we have a Join U of T applicant website. So this is where our applicants will find all of this information, all required documents. You'll have a checklist for you specifically on what you are required to submit and when and how to submit it. You do have the opportunities to submit additional information should you choose to do so. If you wanted to, we have an option for special considerations. If there's any information you'd like us to know that's out of the ordinary that happened throughout your studies prior to applying, that will all be accessed through the Join U of T applicant website. And so many institutions will also have something similar, and that's what I'm encouraging you to always make sure you're updating and reviewing, because that's where you'll find a lot of that important information. Finally, if this all sounds lovely and wonderful to you, and worth the investment, as I'm sure you all feel, as my colleagues do as well, we want to talk a little bit about budgeting and finance. So the University of Toronto actually has this absolutely fabulous tool. It's a financial planning calculator, where you can go online and answer a few questions, and it will input information for you to give you an estimate of what your tuition may cost, housing, fees, meal plans, extra pieces to your student life, and what that budget would look like moving forward. And so you can start planning ahead for your studies. And how we assist you is really fabulous as well. So the University of Toronto gives out millions of dollars in academic needs based scholarships, as well as financial aid for students. One thing you'll see up here, students, international and domestic students, are considered automatically for all of our scholarships. At the University of Toronto, we do have the automatic entrance scholarships and our U of T Mississauga international scholarships. So those we automatically consider for, and we do have some additional scholarships as well. There's a full awards explorer that you can complete to be eligible for application to other awards. And one piece that I did want to talk about that we don't have here, so I'll make sure that we put the website up, is UTAPs. So if you are a domestic student and you have applied for financial aid, namely either OSAP or your provincial or state funding, and that is, sorry, I should say provincial funding. And if that isn't meeting your needs for your education, the University of Toronto has the University of Toronto Advanced Planning for Students. It's our guarantee that no student should be unable to begin or finish their studies due to lack of financial resources. You apply to OSAP and we meet your needs in between there. So there are some really great opportunities for financial aid at UTM specifically, as well as the University of Toronto. So that's it for me. I'm going to pass it back to Michael, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon.
All right. Thank you very much, Lauren. That was amazing. This is why you're the manager of admissions, right there. So let me just take down this presentation. So coming up next, we have our friends, Sarah, Mark, and Laura from the Institute for the Study of University Pedagogy. Before I bring them up on screen, we have a short video that'll play for about 3 minutes. And on the other side, you will see our friends from ISUP.
Hi, my name is Kwame.
And I'm Hiji.
We want to introduce you to just a few of the services on campus here to help you succeed.
Starting with, the Center for Student Engagement is your connection to mentorship opportunities, volunteer experiences, and student clubs. Before you even arrive on campus, you will have the opportunity to connect with other new students through Eagle Connect, our pre-arrival transition program. And once you're here, all extracurricular activities are captured on an official university document called the co-curricular record. It's like a transcript, but everything that isn't academic.
The Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Office works to maintain an equitable and inclusive campus community by providing equity and human rights-related programs and services for all UTM community members. As an example, the Positive Space campaign at U of T aims to create and identify safer and more inclusive spaces for 2S LGBTQ+ students and employees.
Not sure what to do after you graduate? The UTM Career Center, one of the top 5 in Canada, offers you several ways to explore career options, like meeting a career counselor, speaking to employers at career fairs, and finding jobs on and off campus. The Career Center can also review your resume and cover letter before you apply for a job, help you land it with a practice interview, and even take a professional photo of you when you need to update your LinkedIn profile.
The Experiential Education Unit can connect you with internships, field courses, research opportunities, and many other ways that allow you to learn by doing. Bursaries are available to students with financial need, helping to make experiential learning opportunities accessible to all students.
See the world while you're completing your degree with the International Education Center. Participate in UTM abroad during your study break and travel with your classmates and faculty. Or spend up to 1 full academic year abroad with an outbound exchange program. If you're an international student watching this, the IEC can help you apply for study permit, work permit, and help you navigate any confusion regarding studying and working in Canada.
Accessibility Services provides services and academic accommodations for students who have a documented learning, physical, sensory, mental health disability, or medical condition. Accessibility Services also offer students the opportunity to build academic skills and make friends through events and workshops offered by the Peer Mentor Learning Community Program.
The Institute for the Study of University Pedagogy, we just say ISUP, offers courses that focus on developing university-level academic skills and learning strategies for any students in any discipline. These foundational courses focus on skills like writing, numeracy, research, and communication. All of our courses are student-centered, interdisciplinary, and they offer a collaborative classroom experience.
Get moving at The Rock, our state-of-the-art recreation, athletics, and wellness center, where you can participate in a variety of fitness, recreation, and sports programs. Learn a new sport, try a fitness class, or dive into pool activities. Our programs are available year-round, and many are even online. Whew, that was a lot to cover.
And we've only scratched the surface. U of T Mississauga isn't just a place to learn, it's a place to make friends, learn more about yourself, and even experience the world.
To learn more about any of the services we mentioned, visit the Student Services website. We'll see you on campus.
Bye!
Good evening, everyone. I guess I'll start us off. We can introduce ourselves. I'm Sarah Seeley. I'm an assistant professor in the teaching stream and the associate director of curriculum at the Institute for the Study of University Pedagogy, which you've heard a number of times. And as you've also heard, we just call it ISUP because it's a lot easier.
Hey there, my name is Mark Blauhera, and I'm the course coordinator for ISP 100, which is part of ISUP. And it's our first year writing course, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a few minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura. I'm ISUP's academic advisor and faculty support administrator. So I'm the first point of contact if you do contact ISUP directly.
All right. I guess we can move forward. So we thought, even though it's a little, I mean, we're in an online platform, we thought that it might be fun to start this out quickly by just doing a brief interactive thing. So we want to invite folks to drop their thoughts into the comment section. So we're just kind of curious, what comes to mind when you think of writing? So this might be questions, good experiences, bad experiences, anything goes. Would anyone like to share in the comments section? Okay, we thought it would be a good way to start. We do stuff like this in class. We wanted to illustrate the kind of interactive function of our class. Oh, I see a few things coming in now. Imagination, essays. Okay. Stressful. Imagination and being open-minded. Essays, tests, and exams. Good. Anyone else want to add? Okay. Well, thank you. Lynn says creativity. Rachel says creativity. Thank you to all of you for putting these in. We've got another vote for essays. All right, so we can researching from Vivian. We see kind of a split where I think more structured versus sort of more creative. Marion's suggesting research as well. Persuading. This is all great. Thank you. So we like to kind of start out with questions like this in our writing class because it gives students an opportunity to draw on their prior experience and acknowledge the fact that you already have a lot of experience with writing before you even arrive at university, certainly even before you arrived at high school. So we're going to kind of hold all of this in our minds and move forward to think about the writing process.
Excellent job, everybody. And like Sarah said, this is something that we want you to hold in your minds because you do know quite a bit about writing. That said, the university expectations for writing are probably a little bit different than what you're used to in high school. And they might even be a little bit different from what your high school teachers have been telling you. Sarah and I, as well as the other writing faculty in ISUP, have been teaching writing, and we also research writing, and we study writing. And we actually know quite a bit about academic writing. And something that we have found is that writing is oftentimes a nonlinear process. When you are learning to write, oftentimes you're taught in a very linear process, a straight line, where you come up with an idea, you do an outline, you do some research, you do a draft, etc. But what we found from studying professional writers as well as advanced student writers is that it tends to be a lot more nonlinear, which means that experienced writers, they spend a lot of their time creating and then revising their ideas, and they loop back and forth between those different stages. So they might get some feedback by involving others in their writing process. Then they might go back and do some more research. Then they might do some drafting, get some more feedback, and go back and change some things. Professional writers and experienced writers oftentimes also think about what's called genre, which is what types of texts that they're creating. when you get to university, you're going to actually be asked to write in a lot of different genres because you're in a lot of different communities, whether you're going into forensics or sociology or computer science or something in the humanities. All of those require slightly different varieties of writing, and they're read by different audiences. And so one of your challenges as a writer is to build your skills and techniques for how to go out and find models of those genres that you can look at and think about who your audience is, who's going to be reading it, and to think about what you're trying to achieve when you do your writing. Another thing to think about with university writing is that it is intellectual work. Okay. Let's see here. Canadian citizen, born and lived in Canada. Marianne, I'm going to leave that to somebody else to answer very specifically your question in the chat. But it sounds as though you're quite fluent with English. And by the way, that's a pretty common situation that you described, that a lot of our students at UTM were perhaps born in a different country besides Canada, but have lived in Canada for many years, or have gone to English language schools outside of Canada as well. So university writing, there is an intellectual component to it that's maybe different from what you've experienced in high school. You're eventually expected to contribute new knowledge. We build knowledge and we communicate knowledge through writing. You're expected to do some independent research that feels meaningful to you, and then also hopefully contributes to the field's understanding of certain issues, no matter what field it is that you're in. You're oftentimes given a deadline, and then within ISEP, we do a lot of scaffolding to help you meet those deadlines. But in many of your classes, you will be given a writing deadline, and then you'll have to manage that time purposefully for yourself, as opposed to doing what I did in my first year of school, which is put everything off until the night before and then staying up really, really late. So Sarah probably didn't do that. She probably managed her time much better than I did. And then you have to become an integrated part of a disciplinary community, again, to try to contribute more meaningful knowledge to that community. Lynn, you asked a question about, does every new student need to take this course? Eventually you will. Currently, most of the incoming students are required to take ISP 100, which Sarah is going to talk a little bit more about in a couple of minutes. Within the next 3 or so years, every student who's coming into UTM is going to have to take this course. Okay, so speaking of ISP 100, I'm going to turn this back over to Sarah to talk about that.
Thanks, Mark. So we're going to talk a little bit just about some basic details to start. So really ultimately the reason we're here with you tonight is because the university and our faculty regard this as really a major opportunity for students. This is something special that is only at UTM. So there aren't very many required first-year writing kinds of situations in Canada, period. And we take a particular approach that sets us apart. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. But one of the things that's great that makes it special is that the class is capped at 25 students per section. So that means that, you're in just a small class atmosphere that you can get to know people, right? So as Mark was talking about a little bit before, this course is grounded in current research, which is very much focused on helping students build transferable skills. So the idea is, you learn several things that you have here in the palms of your hands. You're able to sort of put them in your pockets, so to speak, and then take them with you somewhere else. And the idea is that then when you get there, you're able to pull out your tools out of your pockets and figure out, okay, I have a new writing situation that I need to analyze. As Mark was mentioning, depending on what kind of courses you find yourself in at any given moment, what you're majoring in, you're going to shift across, different contexts and different writing situations that will require you to use different tools. So we give a foundation of those tools that then, your toolkit doesn't end there. You need to keep assembling it. You need to keep reimagining it. So one of the things that we do in this class is have students write what we call a personal portable theory of writing. So theories are meant to sort of explain the world and predict what's going to happen. So if we're going to explain and predict, we can explain what we know about writing, and we can predict what we're going to need as individuals to be effective writers in the future. And that sort of includes the built-in notion of adaptation, that the further you go, the more that you know, your ideas and your perspectives change. So you'll build this theory as you move through your degree program. So community building is a major value to this class. I already touched on this briefly. Not only are the classes small, they're discussion based. So it means you get to add your voice to conversations, participate in active learning. You're not just sort of a passive receptor of information, listening to a professor just talk at you all the time. So you are able to build connections, make connections with peers. You're able to build relationships specifically with faculty that you can't build relationships with your professors in the same way when there's, 1,000 people in a lecture class. Here we actually get to know one another. It provides, a support as you move through your degree program, kind of in a social sense. And I can't tell you how many letters of reference I'm asked to write from students that come out of classes like this. So that's a nice thing on both ends. But most importantly, we always put the last thing, the most important thing at the end. Students leave this class with a sense of empowerment. You're not sort of floundering around wondering, Mrs. Brown in grade 11 English told me to do it this way, and I learned Mrs. Brown's way, and now I don't understand why, Mrs. Brown doesn't understand, didn't prepare me to succeed in all contexts. Rather, you have the ability to think about your own thinking, think about your own knowledge, and adapt and change and grow as a student and as a citizen. So yes, we wonder if you have questions for us that are specifically related to first year writing or the writing course.
And I can jump in right now, and I see that Douglas has asked a question about what are some of the options to improve writing. Well, UTM has a lot of options to improve writing. One of them, one of the reasons actually that ISP 100 was developed at UTM was to give students, like what Sarah talked about, a nice, small, friendly atmosphere to develop their writing skills. But there's a lot of other options as well. Many classes at UTM participate in what's called a writing development initiative, which means that they require writing that is very disciplinary in nature. Meaning a biology class will ask you to write things that have to do with biology and in forms that have to do with biology. And then we also have what's called the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center, which is where you could go in and get free one-on-one help with any type of writing that you're doing in the university. And that's a common thing for many universities. Most universities that are out there will have some sort of an academic skills center where they'll be able to help you build some of those skills. Every new student coming into UTM, Grace asks, needs to do this in their first year. Not right now, but what is it, Sarah, 2 years?
By the fall of 2025, we will be having all students enroll in this class. So the initiative was developed for this specific purpose. So yes. Yeah.
Chances are you will have to take it. Most of the degree programs currently require it. It's just kind of a phased rollout.
It just depends on what you want to major in at the moment as to whether you would need to take it now. But we can answer specific questions about the programs that are requiring it offline if you would like to contact us about that.
HH, you say, will we take math and English courses on top of the courses we picked? My understanding is that if you're required to take math courses or English courses / ISP 100, that those are going to be part of your regular course load. that your degree program or your intended degree program will have some recommendations for you for your first year. And those recommendations may include a math course, or they may include ISP 100, but that would be part of your regular course load. These are good questions. Anybody else have specifically writing focused questions? Because those are the ones that Sarah and I have expertise in. All right.
I think HH said it. Thank you. We still have a few minutes, so I think you'll be joining us at the end of near the end of the show when we take up more questions. So I'll let everyone in the audience, if you think of questions, put them into the chat, and we'll get to them as we move through the presentations. But for now, I want to just thank Mark and Sarah. I will say, as a former English major, I am a little jealous that the students are able to take this and ISEP exists at all. We actually shot a video a few weeks ago. And we're talking to current students at UTM, and we just said, what was your favorite course so far? And most students will say, oh, this one biology course or that one forensic science students, but so many students are saying ISP 100, ISP 100. So it's really great that this course exists. And for everyone asking in the chat about it and whether they have to take it, you're lucky to be able to take a course like this. So thank you, Laura, Sarah, and Mark. We'll see you in a bit. And right now, I will ask Kwame to come up. Let me do that now. There we go. Hey, Kwame.
Hello. Thank you, Michael.
All right, have a good show.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. My name is Kwame Diko, and I am the Diversity Student Recruitment and Admissions Officer here at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. So first and foremost, thank you for joining us today. The focus of today's session is to talk to you about how we center students in our EDI programming. We've been listening to our students, so I'll briefly highlight some of the student conversations that guide our work. By the end of the session, you'll be made aware of how your voices shape our work within the realm of equity, diversity, and inclusion as it pertains to your studies at UTM. We have a lot to cover and we have 10 minutes, so let's have fun and let's begin. So mapping our time together, we're going to do a quick overview. We're then going to orient our approach. We'll talk a little bit about student perspectives at the graduate, undergraduate, and prospective student level. We'll then talk about some of our programming, and then we'll talk about our future. So why specific supports and why now? It's become increasingly clear that a large and growing demographic of learners historically underserved by traditional higher education are still being affected. It's critical that we become more agile and develop greater empathy. These are crucial skills that academia needs if we are to listen to learners and partner with them to create personalized journeys that align education with their career goals. When it comes to access, the University of Toronto Mississauga is committed to ensuring that students from communities that are underrepresented in higher education are well positioned to engage, access, and thrive here. So we have some icons. We have a set of icons that describe a traditional linear approach to change. Change in our context means planning and implementing student supports. Here we have an individual that first engages in observation. Our individual begins by studying a group of students and recognizing a lack of supports for their entry into higher ed. In the second column, our person has an aha moment, an idea. The individual then formulates a solution for the group. And then lastly, we have implementation. A list is made with directives to be actioned and checkboxes to be checked. Surely this solution will solve all problems for our student groups and benefit everyone. I'm not so sure. Let's take a look at our approach. We made some edits to this linear approach. We first asked how we know what we know about our student groups. We then recognized that as our institutions change, so do our students. So we asked, how can we identify and orient ourselves to change alongside our student population in ways that best support them? We embarked by informing these questions through observation and discourse with students. With the goal of understanding how students make sense of us and what we don't know about them. Being an academic institution, the first thing we did was read a bunch of books, rather academic publications about student recruitment admissions, and access to higher education. Here's a snippet of what we found. Student engagement has received increased attention in the context of expanding and a more diverse higher education student population. Research has highlighted that 3 things matter to students: the academic staff they work with, the nature of their academic study, and their feelings of belonging. Keeping this in mind, we need to take a step back and reevaluate what we really know about our diverse student population and what we actually do to support them. Summarized, we don't want students to survive, we want them to thrive, and we don't only want to include them, we want them to feel like they belong at UTM. So, we then move on to the graduate student perspective. Why graduate students? Because they've lived the undergraduate life. They probably have perceptions and perspectives that we don't know that could be key to our programming. What graduate students have discovered: boundary spanning. Summarized, graduate student theses have indicated the need for tangible change and support programming that spans across departments, faculties, groups, and clubs. Let's move on to the undergraduate perspective. For this, we positioned ourselves with undergraduate students, meeting them where they are, in classrooms, in student clubs and organizations, sometimes at their graduations, sometimes during lectures. We found out that access and info were themes that affected their feelings of belonging while in university. Furthermore, we found out that access and info affected their concept of thriving in university. Simply put, navigation to them meant much more than finding their way around campus. It's understanding and feeling like they're a part of the campus and knowing where to go to find the information they need. So then we moved on to prospective students. Again, we followed the same format. We met them where they were, in community organizations, at their high schools, at their clubs, sometimes at home virtually. So here's what they indicated. Prospective students indicated navigating uncertainty with representation actively denoting their social location and ability to fit in on campus. Furthermore, they wondered what it would be like for them on campus. Will they fit in here? Will they have students that look like them? Will they be able to find a group that they identify with? So this informed our approach to EDI programming. Rather than a stepwise process to fixing these access issues, we implemented a cyclical process where we're constantly checking back with the groups that we've previously identified. In the icons below, you'll see in the first section, we recognize that there's a problem to students thriving in university. We then went back to student groups, as well as parents, as well as community organizations and departments to try to brainstorm solutions. We made some solutions and had some keys to success. Instead of implementing it right away, we went back to these organizations and said, is this what we really understood? Is this what you meant to say? This is what we translated it as and what we can do. And in the last column, we have a cyclical process by which we implement programming, we check in with students, and we make tweaks as we go to ensure that we're consistently and constantly meeting them where they are and supporting them with what they need. So we've covered the theory, we've covered the background. What does this actually look like for students and for you as you consider your higher education options? We're going to focus on implementing one recommendation or a number of recommendations from the report from the University of Toronto Anti-Black Racism Task Force. One of the brainchilds of this report was BAE, Black Access to Educational Excellence. BAE is completely concerned with your university decision-making process. We equip students by providing presentations and workshops that cover essential higher education info. We also provide events and opportunities for students and families to experience UTM. Lastly, we implement recommendations from broad University of Toronto strategic frameworks and accompanying reports. Here's an example of one of our workshops. This is called BSIS, or Black Students in STEM. This was developed by one of our ambassadors, a BAE ambassador, Amy Sylvester Omorodion, after working with a professor within our Chemical and Physical Sciences department. The goal of this workshop was to increase student representation in STEM by properly informing high school students on what it's like to study STEM at UTM and the careers that await them after completing their degree at UTM. Furthermore, we've partnered with the Experiential Education Unit to provide the UTM STEM Scholars Program. The UTM STEM Scholars Program, a pathway for tomorrow's leaders, aims to increase diversity among future leaders in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The scholarship is offered by the Vice Principal, Academic, and Dean, and facilitated by the Experiential Education Unit at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. The scholarship program offers full tuition scholarship for 4 years of undergraduate study, a summer bridge program, paid internships, and research opportunities. The program also provides dedicated assistance and mentorships. While the deadline for this application is passed, it's important for you to know what the program requirements are so you can prepare for next year. Applicants need a minimum of 85% in any of the courses that you see on screen now, intention to pursue a graduate degree, self-identification as Black, and must be a Canadian citizen or landed immigrant. So, as we think about EDI, it doesn't just live within student recruitment and admissions. It's actually spread across the campus. Let's think about small pools of culture and small whirlpools of change across the campus departments, clubs, and organizations. These all create a blanket of support for our diverse student population. So, as we look towards the future, what does this mean? Recruitment and admissions will continue our multidisciplinary approach to equity, diversity, and inclusion. We'll develop responsive and reflexive programming for students, and we'll also continue to align and implement recommendations from all University of Toronto strategic frameworks. This wonderful work will continue. Lastly, as we begin to wrap up, I think it's important for you to get to know some of my wonderful colleagues that support my work every single day. I know that we see names, and tonight we're seeing faces with names, but there are some faces that you don't see. And like I said, these wonderful colleagues are the folks on the other side of the phone when you call into our office. Now that you know what they look like, please don't be afraid to ask for them by name. We all bring different experiences and perspectives to the university, and we'd love to inform your decision-making process. So we're here to help, as I've said previously. Thank you for listening, and an even bigger thank you for shaping our professional practice. You matter. Your goals and dreams are our focus. Stay strong, stay safe, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you, Michael. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Mami. I love that presentation. It's, there's a lot of research going into this, and I love that we're able to tap into it and then act on it, right? We can all read the reports and say, oh, that's nice, but it's nice to see that UFT is actually finding ways to implement that research in a meaningful way and then get feedback from our communities and then build and improve on it. And you're a part of that. So thank you very much for that presentation. So we've heard a lot of faculty and staff so far who've been sharing with us a lot of information. So now we're going to switch gears a bit and ask a current student to tell us what a day in the life is like for her. Okay, so let's bring up Stella. Hey, Stella, you're on.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. So as Michael mentioned, I'm a current student here at UTM. And I'm just here to give you a bit of a rundown on what a day-to-day life is like for a university student. I'll also be here later to answer questions, but I know that going into university, I had basically no idea. I was really excited to go, but I had no idea what it was like to actually be there. I didn't know what it was like to what my friends would be like, what my classes would be like. I didn't know what my days would look like. I knew what degree I was going for, but not exactly the specifics. So I'm just here to give a bit of an overview of what my experience was like in my first year. So I'm going into, I'm going into my second year here at UTM. I'm pursuing the linguistics specialist in a major in cognitive science. So here at UTM, we do have, I'm sure you've heard a little bit. We have this system where you can study more than one thing at once, which I really, really appreciate because I don't just have one interest. I have a lot of different ones. So at my time here at UTM, I was able to pursue a lot of different things that I was really really happy and interested and passionate about in my academics, but also just like in my extracurricular life. So I really like languages. I love linguistics. I love the way that language impacts people, and I like the way that society impacts language. I really like creative writing. So I was a writer. I was originally going to go into English, and then I decided that I liked languages a little bit more. But I still do like to write fiction, and I also love to connect with other writers here on campus at our writing clubs. I like to go to concerts, especially in Toronto. I love all the gigs that we have around campus, so I'm always going to something. I'm always following whoever's in Toronto. I also like theater and musicals. It was something that I had gotten into a little bit during high school, but I really, really wanted to pursue it here at UTM because of our theater and drama studies program. So what I ended up doing is joining theater in my extracurriculars, which was super fun. And I loved it a lot. And it was a really good opportunity to kind of get engaged with people who were really, really passionate about it and were pursuing it like on a post-secondary level. I also really like wandering campus. You'll see that in my presentation, and I really like other people. So you'll see I am always with someone. It's because I just came to university to make friends along with, pursue my academics. I really like like-minded people. I really like talking with people who have studied other things that I never would have learned about otherwise. And I like that my days are filled with a variety of people, my friends and strangers and neighbors and just everyone around campus. So my first thing that I usually do on most days is go to class. A lot of my classes will start around 9 or 10. And these pictures here, one of them is my linguistics and sociology class. So we were looking at, like I mentioned, how language impacts society and vice versa, how languages change over time. And this class was actually a joint program joint class between the anthropology department and the linguistics department. So it was a really cool opportunity to kind of like dive into a subject that I probably wouldn't have otherwise. And then on the other picture there is just one of our hallways. I always find it really stunning the way that the sun comes in through our buildings. There's a lot of windows and a lot of like bright architecture around UTM. So I've always really appreciated it. And I have a million photos of campus. And then I go to rehearsal. So I always had a brief rehearsal. I was stage manager for one of our productions of Galatea by John Lilly, which is I think it's a pre-Shakespearean play, or maybe around Shakespearean. We put it on around March, and it was a blast to work on. I had so much fun. I'd never stage managed before, but like I mentioned, I was interested in theater and drama, and so everyone kind of welcomed me on, and we were able to put on an amazing show. So this is us rehearsing in the classroom that we ended up doing our final performance in. And then I take a break for studying. So this was really, really common. You'll see me doing this all over the day. I really I have to study for my classes, but I really like doing it with other people. So because I lived in residence in my first year, I would go over to my neighbor's house all the time and we would study together. I find that a really, really good resource. I remember in high school, sometimes I would do that with my friends, but there wasn't as much opportunity to be social because people would just go to school and then come home. I think at university it was a really cool experience to be able to spend a lot more time studying with other people in a more productive way. I found that for me that was helpful. I think that I didn't know going into university what was going to help me. I didn't know if I needed quiet space. I didn't know if I needed to study with other people, but I got to try it out. And there was a lot of leeway, especially in my first year courses, to spend a few weeks seeing what worked for me and then going from there. So what I found is that studying with other people was really, really useful. And then I take a sun break because I love going around campus. So usually after studying, I'm a little overwhelmed sometimes. I'm a little stressed, or I need just time to like digest what I just learned. So I'll go around campus, I'll listen to music, I'll just take some time for myself. Maybe sometimes I'll even like practice things in my head if I have a presentation or if I have a project that I'm really mulling over. I'll just kind of speak it out to myself or like work it through. The UTM campus is gorgeous. It's so natural. There's a lot of nature trails and places to walk. So I really enjoy just kind of spending time with myself for like a few hours a day, just to kind of process everything that I've been doing in the morning. And then the end of the day is usually a study picnic. On this specific day, like my friend who lives in Toronto had invited me over. So I thought that I'd include this here because it's an example of just kind of the spontaneity of my university experience. I know that independence is something that a lot of high school students are like really looking forward to, and I was really looking forward to it as well. And it was something that I definitely got. And I like all my days to be a little bit different. I don't really love doing the same thing every single day. So I really appreciated moments like these where my friends would call me, text me, and I would just go and hang out with them and get my things done that I needed to get done, but do them with other people. So in these photos here, I had just taken the inter-campus shuttle to Toronto. So our campus is in Mississauga, but I had just gone to Toronto really quickly to have a picnic with one of my friends outside to watch the sunset. So we sat together, we ate food, we studied. It was super fun, and I did that a lot all over my first year. Is just some days because the shuttle was free and because I had time and I could kind of manage my own day, I would just get the things I needed to get done in a really fun way, which is at the Toronto campus, which is gorgeous. And then again, another moment of spontaneity. My friends sometimes would call me at the end of the day. So I made a lot of friends at university. I started out my year with a lot of friends, but I did also retain a lot of friends from high school, and from just, before I started university. So these are some of my international friends that I made a long, long time before I even started university. My friendships are still going strong. It was something I was nervous about going in because I remember people telling me that, your high school friends, you'll never see them again once you go to university. And I didn't find that true at all. I think that my friendships stayed strong. And then I also made additional ones in my new space. So it's just a good thing to keep in mind is like, it's what you make of it. I think university, you have all this independence for yourself. And if you want to put yourself out there and you want to make new friends, you absolutely can. But if you want to just keep your friends at the same time, you can do both. And it's helpful to keep in contact with your high school friends so that transition is a lot easier for you as well. It definitely was for me. I loved having people to talk to when I didn't know anyone. And that's the end. So this is my home. This is Roy Ivor Hall. This was my window there that I had decorated myself. I really did find home at UTM. It was an incredible experience to live there. I was best friends with my roommates. I was best friends with my neighbors, like you saw. We were always doing community events. And so that was something that was really, really, really important to me was I knew that home I had my community, I had people that I would see all the time, but I was so scared that when I got to university, I would lose that support system. And I ended up finding an even bigger one. So that was something that I kind of just wanted to share because I know that it can be really frightening and scary to feel like you're leaving everything behind. But you're not. You have everything that you've already had, and then you're going to build on top of it in a space that is really welcoming and kind, which is really, really exciting. And yeah, that's kind of the crux of my presentation is I wanted to say, be excited because you're about to be so independent and there's going to be so many fun things for you to do. You're going to meet so many people. You're going to study what you like, hopefully. And even if you don't, you're going to, you're going to study what you decided to study, which is much more fun than studying what people tell you to study. So I hope that you enjoy your experience at university. I will be here to answer more questions later, and you can contact me just here if you need to, if you want to hear more about residence, if you want to hear more about the transition, I will be here. And I wish all of you the best.
Thank you very much, Stella. I don't know if you mentioned this, but Stella is actually a tour guide in our office. So if you do want to see more Stella, you can book a campus tour with our office, and you might be lucky enough to actually get her as your tour guide. I love hearing all the individual stories, and your Stella is really special. So thank you for sharing it.
Absolutely, yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So at this time, we are going to do something a little different. That is the end of our presentation segment. And I'm going to get everybody who has presented so far to come back on screen. And there are a few questions that all of you have been asking in the chat, and we've been answering them, but there are some that we're going to answer live right now on camera, since people are coming and going throughout the event. So let me start bringing people up on screen. All right. Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. I want to see if Laura's going to give me the thumbs up. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Look at that. That's all of us. And there's Oriana. Hi, Oriana. Hey, how you doing? Behind the scenes in the chat. So I've saved a few questions here. We have a few minutes to answer them. So let's start with one that we get a lot from students who are considering university, and they're not yet at the time of application. So the question that we see a lot, and Grace asked it earlier in the show, which was, will U of T only check grade 12? And I believe we've answered it, but then maybe Lauren, I'm going to ask you to answer that.
Yeah, great question. We do get that a lot. So typically the life cycle of an application, the first grades that come into us are grade 11s. They are the first grades that we see, and they are part of your academic record. Now, if you've completed some senior level or grade 12 courses prior to starting your grade 12 year, those would also come alongside those grade 11s when you apply. So typically those are the first kind of scores that we see. If a grade 12 course isn't available yet, then we will go back to a related grade 11 to kind of use that to inform what your grades may be in that grade 12 course to come that's in progress. So we are paying particular attention to the grade 12s. Those are the most important. They're the most indicative of how successful you're going to be in those subject areas moving forward. But if they are missing, if they're still in progress and we don't have a grade for them yet, we'll go back to those grade 11s to look at. So I hope that answered that question.
I think it did. Thanks very much, Grace, for your question. Yukta asks, are there any bursaries or entrance scholarships for incoming students? Can I ask Jen?
Sure. Yes, there are. We actually have, oh my gosh, I think it was close to $20 million in entrance scholarships for students, not just for international students, but domestic students as well. We have some really great resources for you. Automatic entrance scholarships, they're kind of assessed when we look at your application. So if you've got really strong grades, you may actually qualify for an automatic entrance scholarship. One of the things I like to tell students about automatic entrance scholarships, though, is that they're not owed to you, but it's more like a surprise. Like you go to visit your grandfather and he's like, hey kid, here's 20 bucks. That's kind of what an automatic entrance scholarship is. We see your grades, we see they're awesome. We give it to you at the point of admission, and then you can apply for all kinds of other scholarships, whether it's outside of the university or whether it's within the university as well. And there's also a really great resource that you can check out, which is called Awards Explorer. And that allows you to filter through all of the scholarships that we have here at the university across all 3 campuses. You'll be able to filter it, whether you're a domestic student or an international student, whether you're looking at academic or athletic scholarships, merit-based or needs-based scholarships as well. And we will put that in the chat for you so you can access it later. But yeah, there's tons of scholarships out there.
Yeah, and guess what? There are actually sometimes even more scholarships once you start being a student at university. So there's even more money to access. It's not even just when you start, when you enter scholarships. So thanks very much, Jen, and thank you for your question. I have a question here for the ISUP crew. Maxim asks, how can high school students improve writing before they even get to university?
Mark, you want me to say something? Do you want to start?
Yeah, no, go for it. It's a good question.
I feel like we'll probably both have different, there's no one single answer to this question. So I feel like we'll both have something to say. So yeah, thank you. This is a great question, Maxim. I think one of my big recommendations would be to start paying attention to the type of writing that you are being asked to produce. Like when, if we think back to some of the stuff Mark was talking about with genre or the types of texts, paying attention to what type of a text you're being asked to write in the context that you're writing in now. Because practicing this and seeking out those models, it's almost like, imagine that you go for a walk downtown with a friend who's studying architecture, and they explain to you all the different kinds of the styles of the columns on the building, the different ways that the roofs are structured, and maybe some of it you like and you find yourself drawn to another style. We're thinking about technique. So paying attention to the type of writing that you're doing helps you start to think about implementing purposeful techniques.
And to that, I would add, I think that Sarah's recommendations are perfect. I would also add that if you're using English as an additional language, keep in mind that even though the writing that you do in biology will be different from the writing that you do in English, which will be different from the writing that you do in forensics, they're similar enough that probably if you spend time between now and starting university, trying to read some research or trying to read academic type writing and just familiarize yourself with the sentence structure that tends to be used in academic writing, the length of the paragraphs, the structure of the paragraphs, that would probably be helpful too.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm that person on the sidewalk that walks and points out the architecture. That's me. As soon as you said it, it's like, who's that?
We'll have to go for a walk sometime, Michael.
Thanks, Maxim, for your question. Kwame, I have one here for you. So Tamana, I'm sorry for mispronouncing that, asks, I know this is widely asked, but what are some things we can do to make our applications stand out when we're applying to university?
I think the most important thing you can do is focus on your current studies in high school. In grade 11 and 12, you're being assessed primarily on your grades and your academic achievements thus far. The bulk of your energy should be put into thriving in your current classes and ensuring that you are operating at the highest capacity possible, getting the best grades possible. Now, if there is a supplementary application to the program or to the admission category you're applying to, that is a different conversation. And I think the best course of action there would be to call our office for sort of personal support with that, so we can guide you on giving you the best advice possible. But to answer your question more broadly, focus on your classes, focus on your grades. That is what you're being assessed on. We want to see you shine. Thank you.
Thanks, Kwame. Academics, absolutely. Very important. And thank you, Tamana, for your question. Stella, I have a question here that I'd like to ask you. It's from Noah. I live in Brampton. Is it mandatory to live in residence for the first year if I come to UTM?
Oh, good question. Yeah, here at UTM, it is not mandatory to live in residence. So you are welcome to commute if you'd like. Residence is not mandatory for anyone, but first years do get a residence guarantee. So if you would like to live in residence, there is a spot for you as soon as you apply. So next year when you apply or whatever you do, there is a certain deadline that you submit your guarantee application, which basically means that you are claiming your spot, and we'll save a spot for you in residence. But no, you don't have to live in residence if you don't like to. There's a large commuter population at UTM. Commuting is rather easy usually because of the bus systems that connect to UTM. So it shouldn't be too difficult if you wanted to attempt that. But yeah, no, I think there are two different experiences, commuting and non-commuting. I think that residence is one sort of community, and commuters are a different kind of community, but I think both are strong. I think both are worthwhile. So in short, no, you don't have to live in dorms if you don't want to.
That's it. Yeah. The lovely thing I like about that is that it's not mandatory, but a lot of students kind of make it mandatory for themselves because they want to join that community once they come. So no. So thank you very much for answering, and thank you, Noah, for the question. I have another question here. I'm going to put it up to Lauren from Yukta again. Hi, Yukta. How many universities or colleges are we allowed to apply to?
Good question. I did see this question come up a few times. So I think there are a few folks who were asking because I did see there were rules around the application process with the University of Toronto and the flat fee. So on the Ontario University Application Center, so this is strictly when you're applying to universities in Ontario. We are a collective and we have one common application. And so the initial fee in application is for 3 choices. You can add more. I don't think there's a limit, but it can be quite costly as each individual edition is about $50 each. The rules around the University of Toronto and typically around applications to most universities is that you can apply to one program at U of T per campus or division. So, for example, if you're interested in life sciences, you could apply to U of T Scarborough and U of T St. George within the Faculty of Arts and Science and U of T Mississauga in life sciences, but that would be your 3 choices right there. You could also apply to engineering and music and U of T Mississauga. That would be your 3 choices, but you could do 3 separate universities entirely. So it's up to you. You have the opportunity to add on more. But like I said, it can get quite costly. So choose wisely.
It can get costly for sure. But we've seen it. We've seen people with multiple applications. So thank you very much for the question, Jutta, and thanks, Lauren. Jen, Grace is back with her second question. I feel like I'm doing this in pairs now. It's the matching game. So Grace asks, if I study anything with business, can I still go to med school?
Yes. So the answer is yes, but it's also maybe. It depends on your grades. It depends on whether or not you succeed with the MCAT, which is the medical application test that you're going to complete prior to being admitted. Your best thing to do is to take a look at the different med schools that you're interested in applying to. Most students don't apply to just one med school. They'll apply to all of them in the area that they want to go to. Sometimes they'll apply internationally as well. So you want to see what the prerequisites are going to be for that particular med school. Oftentimes, it's going to be taking a couple of courses in anatomy and physiology, mathematics. Everybody's going to have to take, a couple of courses in the humanities and the social sciences. But keep in mind that realistically, it's very difficult to get into med school. Don't let that kind of quash your dreams and squash your ambitions. Just make sure that you work really, really hard. You ask for help when you need help so that you can bring your grades up to the level that that med schools are kind of requesting from you. When you do that, and when you succeed with your MCAT, that makes your application stand out a little bit more. And definitely join any of the clubs on campus for any of the universities or colleges that you might, well, primarily universities that you might be going to, that have MCAT prep groups, because this is really good practice for you to get ready to write the MCAT test. And then also just keep your options open. Know that there are all kinds of different areas within medicine or in that field of med that you can potentially get into. And that could include things like physician assistant. It might be going into nursing or perhaps physio, something like that. So just keep your options open. And remember that what you want to do right now may not actually be what you want to do in 4 or 5 years. Lots of opportunities. But yes, essentially, you can get into med school if you take business or English or dance.
Good answer. I love that a lot of our answers are yes or no. And then it's like, and let me expand. And then we wrap it up with, so actually what I mean to say is yes. Thank you very much, Grace, for your question. So I have something here that's not really a question, but I'm going to read between the lines and expand on it. This was in response to, what do you think about writing English? And I told you not to touch it. Excellent Arthur reference, by the way. It just said hard. So I want to ask Sarah and Mark and Laura to kind of jump in and say, what do you tell a student who's just really nervous or anxious about the challenging aspect of university and what they can do to just get ready for that aspect, whether it be within writing specifically, but even in general?
Laura, did you want to start this one off?
Sure. And this also kind of loops in a little bit with the advice about what can high school students do before getting to university to prepare for university. And I would say to seek help when you need it, seek assistance when you need it. As part of ISEP, we have the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center. And so here you can seek help for math support, for writing support, test support. It can help you go through testing strategies for multiple choice tests, study strategies, time management strategies, those types of things. So definitely use the resources that are available to you.
Can I add something too? I
Please.
think those are great suggestions. I would say to be aware that success at university, and this is a thread through some things that you've heard today, success at university is certainly partially due to your performance, like within a subject matter, like how well you can learn math and perform at it. But it is also in large part due to your mindset, how you handle the disappointments that all of us have experienced at university. A test that doesn't go as well as you hope, or a paper that doesn't go as well as you hope, or not getting into a program or a class. Those types of things are inevitable. And adapting what's called a growth mindset, which is just understanding that adversity is actually good for us, and that we can learn from some of those disappointments and get better at the skills that will help us do well at university, I think is really, really helpful.
If I can just add quickly to all of this wonderful advice, I think it's important to, since I really like that Michael has just spotlighted someone saying it's hard. It is hard. It is hard. And normalizing that fact goes a long way to, I think, having that growth mindset that Mark is mentioning. If we imagine ourselves as lone actors who look around and it seems like it comes easily to everyone else and we're the only ones who's struggling, that's with any subject, that's not the way it actually is. And writing is sort of unlike other things in that it's a journey that we continue on. Even once you become really proficient and confident with a particular kind of writing, you still have more to learn when it comes to another potential context that's going to be totally different, or writing for a different audience. So just racking up those achievements, but also recognizing that you're just going to keep moving down the line, and it'll never really stop entirely being something that might be hard from time to time.
Well said. I'm really glad I put that question to you. I knew you'd knock it out of the park. I have another question here. And this is great because this person is already planning on transferring to UTM. I will assume, Jamila, maybe you haven't yet applied, but you're thinking about it already. Who wants to take this question? Can you talk about transferring to UTM from another university? Lauren, yeah? Short answer and then long answer?
No, well, there's always, yes, it depends. Of course. Yeah. So our admissions team is also our transfer credit team for on admission assessments. So we do see a lot of students transfer internally from other divisions at the University of Toronto, from other Ontario universities, Canadian universities, and colleges, as well as from institutions abroad. So it is definitely doable. The one exception is that computer science, math, and stats is limited to students coming directly from high school. So that would not be in admission category that you could apply to if you have previous post-secondary experience. Everything else, we would assess your most recent academic record, kind of put that at the forefront, though we may go back to your high school. So we will ask for it. To look for prerequisites, or just to have that as part of your entire academic record for review. So you can find information, whether you might be transferring from another university or a college, on our website. We do indicate, how you meet prerequisites at post-secondary if you haven't met them at high school, and what grades you may be looking to achieve, and then what that transfer credit process may be like. I'd also invite you, if you haven't applied yet, in the fall, we start offering our Transfer Tuesday events. These are specifically for students interested in applying from other colleges and universities, and we go through the whole process and kind of talk about what you may be eligible for advanced standing to move into your studies at U of T Mississauga.
Great, thank you very much. It depends. That's like the motto, right, of our jobs. It depends. All right, I'm going to be mindful of time, so I'm going to do one last question. And Kwame, you have the honor of answering the last question. And it disappeared on me. Wait a second. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Sorry, I got it. Momo asks, does U of T offer co-op courses? Now, they ask for life sciences and neuroscience, but just in general, experiential opportunities, what can they do outside of academics when they come to U of T?
Okay, wonderful question. So we actually have an awesome unit, department, office, whichever way you want to phrase it, called the Experiential Education Unit. And they are completely concerned with answering this question. They offer a myriad of programming to help students experience education outside of the University of Toronto, Mississauga through research opportunities programming, professional experience years and programs, as well as internships and general research assistantships. So while co-op is not, the term co-op specifically may not be offered at UTM, we do offer co-op adjacent programming, is what I like to call it, in which you have the opportunity to experience learning outside of the classroom. I hope that answers the question well enough. And being conscious of time.
Yes, no, not at all. Co-op adjacent, that's my new catchphrase now. So with that, I want to say, first off, thank you to everybody here for joining me. You just put in 2 hours of your evening to help everybody in the chat, everybody who's joined us, to learn more about university, learn more about post-secondary education, and learn more about our lovely campus. I also want to thank everybody in the chat for asking questions. You were well informed. You had fantastic questions. You participated, and hopefully this is not the first time that we see you. We have a lot of events happening throughout the year. I'm going to put up a website for U of T, future.utoronto.ca is where you can find everything that we're hosting, everything about admissions and recruitment and events and everything, one place to go to. And somebody asked, is this going to be saved on YouTube? Yes. So if you missed anything, you want to go back and watch it again, this will be saved on YouTube for years to come. So it's all yours. So once again, thank you very much for joining. I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And hopefully we'll see you soon at another time. Thanks, everybody.